Back on ESPN Bet Live, Alabama enters the 2024 season under new coach Kalen DeBoer. Coming over from Washington, he replaced the legend Nick Saban, of course, who won 6 titles at Bama. The Crimson Tide entered the season with a 16-1 odds to win the national title, their longest preseason odds since Saban's second season at the helm back in 2008. Now, Alabama actually a slight underdog to make the expanded 12-team playoff at ESPN Bet. Bama has made the playoff 8 times in 10 years, of course, with just 4 teams then more than any other team. Last year, they fell to Michigan in the Rose Bowl in the semifinals in a great game. Back with our guy Stanford Steve, Joe Fortenbaum, Dallin Cup. Steve, I'll start with you. You like plus money here in the Crimson Tide?
Absolutely. I really do. I know, I get it. You touched on it with Saban leaving, the greatest coach of all time. Kalen DeBoer is pretty good. He knows what he's doing. People said he got the job and he wasn't going to be able to recruit. Check the recruiting rankings. I think they're doing all right there. But when you look at Alabama's roster, Jalen Milroe is only going to be better. The quarterback room, with everything happened in the South Florida game, those guys, they're only going to be better. And the biggest factor that I like is their offensive line. I mean, how many offensive lines are you going to take ahead of them? 2 at the most, 3 in the whole sport with Brailsford, Roberts, and I think the best offensive lineman in the country, Tyler Booker, and then interior. You bring that to the table when you got to go to a road game at Wisconsin to see what you really got, a bye week, and then you got Georgia to figure it out. What people have to realize is that we are going to see teams with multiple losses get in the playoff. And I would put Alabama at the top of the tier. If people were upset last year that they got in, wait till this year when they have a couple losses. I haven't even said a word about their defense, too. And Deontay Lawson, their linebacker, might be my favorite defensive player in the country. So with plus money, I get it. They got Georgia coming in. Georgia's roster probably better in its totality. But Kalen DeBoer, I don't see a problem with the hire. I actually really love it when you look at what the other possibilities were to come in and replace Nick Saban. So, yeah, I'm on plus money. Give me Bama to make the playoff.
Complete agreement. Let's start with the point on DeBoer. The guy's won everywhere, and he wins quickly. When he went to Fresno State, his first year on the job was the COVID year, so they went 3-3. You can throw that one out the door. But that was a bad Fresno team. They were making a rough transition. Following year, first full season on the job, wins 10 games. So he jumps to Washington and replaces Jimmy Lake, who went 4-8. First year on the job, he wins 11 games. The guy's shown at multiple stops he can build a winner very quickly, all right? When you look at the schedule, very difficult. Steve brought it up. There are some key spots. I would say of the 3 road games between Washington, LSU, and Oklahoma, can you win 2 of those 3? And then 2 tough home games between Georgia and Missouri, who's going to be solid this year. Can you win 1 of those 2? You pull that off, you're sitting on 2 losses. Remember, as we're voting to figure out what that 12th team, what that 11th team is going to be, this is a team with a lot of brand recognition. They travel. People want to see them. It's easy to sway some of the voters to get them in. A lot of us who watch this sport would love to see them under Kalen DeBoer get in if they're a 2-loss team. I agree. Plus money, I'm making the bet.
Making a clean sweep. I'm surprised it was plus money, and I'm going to touch on your last point there, Joe. This is the only sport in the world where the perception of your team and your league affect your ability to win a championship and play in a championship. Ask Florida State about how they feel about that. Ask about the ACC how they feel about that. Nobody's perception is better in college sports and college football than Alabama. And nobody's perception of a league is better than the SEC. You add in Oklahoma and Texas, it's only going to grow. If it comes down to you're splitting hairs between them and the 2nd or 3rd team in the ACC or the Big 12, I don't care who it is. Bama's going. So I love this play right now for all the reasons you guys said and the intangible piece of that. Steve, you want a last word here?
No, I'm just scared that we're all in agreement. That's all.
We're all smart.
Absolutely. Well, we may be smart. We also can all be wrong. Okay, let's go on to the playoff odds. Steve, give me a team you're interested in to get in the playoff.
I was interested in Oregon. Now this price just keeps getting higher and higher, and I really wonder. I think it's going to be the talk of the sport about these big-name teams changing conferences.
Yep.
And I get it. When you look at Oregon, you know, the flash, the uniforms, all that. But now you got to go play a different style. How well are you going to adapt? You look at that schedule. You don't think Oregon State's going to want some blood in that game after they just left them out to dry? You get maybe what to be the best game of the year. You get Ohio State coming to your place in the middle of October to really see how it is. Michigan, I still think, is way more formidable than what the prices say. I would rather take Oregon to make the playoff, maybe as opposed to a season win total or win the Big Ten. because I kind of want to see it. With how they contrast to what they're going into. But when you look at the roster, they have everything. Offensive and defensive line are going to be strengths, and that's what you want, especially when you go on the road in the Big Ten.
Dan Lanning is a beast of a coach. This is going to be a very good team. And I like the fact that in the first year in the Big Ten, when you look at the road dates for travel, they're only going to head far east by their standards, 3 times: Purdue, Wisconsin, and the other one is Michigan. And all of those have a break in between with a home game. So you're not going to get stuck with any of these crazy back-to-backs and wacko travel spots. That's something to keep in mind with the teams that are coming in to the Big Ten from the West Coast.
I think you guys are talking about the teams who are leagues adding teams.
Yeah.
I like the Big 12 in the vacuum. Oklahoma and Texas leaving. Kansas State, I think, goes in there. Avery Johnson's dynamic quarterback. They're very well coached. They've got really good trench play on both the offensive and defensive line. So I like them at plus 250. There you go. There's our playoff jumps here. All right, Joe, you like Miami, though. Why?
Yeah, I'm going to slide one in here. This might be a bit of a shocker, but this is a tribute to our old friend Bear, who, alongside Pat Burrell, 2 most famous Miami alum in the history of the school. Miami making the playoffs, sitting somewhere right around plus 260. Hear me out. A little bit of a buy low spot on the Hurricanes. Rough season last year. They dropped 6 of their last 9 games. Everybody checked out on Cristobal's crew. Start with the schedule, all right? Where's the tough road spot? Florida, I like Billy Napier, but he's got his hands full this season. South Florida, Cal and Louisville, that's a back-to-back, but if you notice, there's a week off in between there. Georgia Tech, Syracuse, that's not bad. The Florida State game's at home. This is a really nice schedule for a team that went and picked up Cam Ward at quarterback in the transfer portal. He's coming over from Washington State. Damian Martinez, the running back from Oregon State's coming over as well. I don't know, Steve. What do you think about the Hurricanes? Am I crazy thinking this team might threaten to get a playoff spot?
Not at all. I really like it, Joe. The question I have is that first game. Like, you are going to as hungry a team. No one has said a bad word or a good word about Florida since last season. Then the schedule comes out, and it's like, oh my God, they're not going to win a game. They were better in offense last year than Colorado was. Everybody talks about Colorado in the flash. Florida had a better offense. So that first game for Miami, I think, is monumental. Now, with that, I would love to see an adjusted total after that game if they were to lose and then look at a season win total, because I still think Miami could win the ACC even if they lose at Florida. I think it's a huge spot for them. They're going to learn a ton about themselves, but I think it's all for the better. You mentioned Cam Ward. He has to change his ways, though. He can't do his own thing like he did at Wazoo. He has to play within the system, because when you look at playmakers, Cristobal, everybody's going to talk about the losses to Georgia Tech last year, the one at Oregon when he was at, against Stanford, when he blew the game with the call. Everybody, that's all they're going to talk about. The guy still has hired a great staff. He doesn't call the plays. He doesn't call the defense. The staff is very, very good. And when you look at what he's brought in, they still have plenty of playmakers. I just worry about that first game. But I for the first time in a long, long time, I'm in on Miami. I really am. I like what they have there, and I like what you pointed out, the schedule. Everything they have makes for success as the season moves on, and I like them moving forward in this year.
Oh, it's such a big game to start the year. I'm getting excited.
It's huge. It's tingly. Blood flow. It's a huge game, but it does set a tone. But that said, that is not a league game, which does help them in the fact that if they win that conference, which is still open. Florida State's right there. Clemson, they are the 3rd favorite right now. Miami at plus 260 to get to that point, maybe win it and get themselves to a playoff at plus 260. It's all to be had for the Hurricanes and a big year for Mario Cristobal, to say the least.